Now, we would like to start by focusing on data. And in today's highly data-driven world, what we find is that the problem is not one where we don't have enough data to interpret. If anything, the problem is precisely the opposite, which means that we have so much data, so much information out there that our key problem is one of attention. That means where should we focus our efforts on in particular? And given the fact that we have access to so much data, we risk missing the wood for the trees. And therefore, it is up to us to make sure that we think strategically and focus and find ways on how to focus on those data areas which are highly relevant to the situation of companies. And all this noise around us contributes to what I call data pollution. What is data pollution? Data pollution basically has two elements. It has an element which is purely physical in nature, which means that the consumption of data creates a tangible impact on the environment. We shall address this later on in this session. But there is also a wider ramification of data pollution in the sense that it pollutes our minds, in the sense that it clouds our judgment, it influences our behavior and our attitudes to make specific actions, which might be either detrimental to us or potentially manipulative or exploitative by third parties for their egoistical benefit. So it is very important to recognize the impacts of data pollution and how we can overcome the consequences of data pollution. But everything starts from noise. What is noise? Noise is basically anything around us with which we are bombarded with. So it is any type of data point that we are coming across. When we go to the supermarket, we see lots of products on the counter. We are at the office. We have tons and reams of reports and data which are coming in from different directions. Where should we start in the first place? We are confused. We don't know what is actually important and what should we analyze from that point on. The fact remains that the human brain is limited. So we cannot sift through all the noise that is bombarding us. So we need to develop a proper strategy for selecting the right type of information which we want to evaluate. And we can also use technology for that by simply applying like sensors, actuators, and also dashboards and KPIs which help us sift through those data points which are specifically required. So the first task is data acquisition and mining, which means that we are converting noise, which is meaningless data floating around, into actual data, which is the source of information which is highly important for our purposes. And we do this through data acquisition and mining, looking at what type of data points we should actually acquire. From then, data needs to be basically analyzed. And the transition from data to information is precisely one of analysis and interpretation, which means that, okay, we have the right type of data points, but now we need a way of consolidating that data into a meaningful form for us to interpret. And frequently we use KPIs, balance scorecards, dashboards, visual data analytics, which all help us to interpret what is happening. So we're converting from data and information. But the most important passage, in my view, is even the one which is the most challenging, which is from information to knowledge. We live in an information and knowledge management society. So it is very important for us to create this type of knowledge. And I call that is augmented intelligence, which means we are combining the information which is computer generated, automatically generated, with the actual knowledge of people, the intrinsic knowledge of people, to generate new know-how which can be applied in other situations.